One man's vision carved a republic out of an empire. Another's philosophy sparked revolutions centuries after his death. A general's ambition redrew the map of Europe. And one dictator's shadow still haunts the world to this day. On this countdown, we dive deep into the legacies of 10 historic leaders, not just rulers, but world shapers. These are the figures whose ideas, conquests, and charisma transformed continents, cultures, and the course of human history. This is the influence of 10 historic leaders. Let's start off at number 10. Did you know one of the most powerful rulers in history was a woman who never married? Meet Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen of England. Born in 1533, ruled for 44 years and totally slayed the 1500s. She turned a struggling England into a global superpower, beat the mighty Spanish Armada, and helped launch the golden age of Shakespeare and exploration. Politics, mastered it. Enemies, outsmarted them. Suitors, all rejected. People feared her, loved her, and couldn't stop talking about her. And get this, she ruled solo in a man's world and won. Her sharp wit, legendary speeches, and killer fashion sense made her an icon. She showed the world that brains, boldness, and a bit of drama could change history. So yeah, Queen Elizabeth I didn't just wear the crown, she owned it. Coming up next at number 9, meet Genghis Khan, history's ultimate power player. Born around 1162 as Temujin, he started with nothing. His dad was poisoned, his tribe abandoned him, and he grew up hunted. But somehow, he didn't just survive. He united the Mongol tribes and built the largest land empire the world has ever seen. He didn't fight like the others. He used speed, strategy, and psychological warfare. Imagine horse archers striking like thunder and vanishing like smoke. He was brutal, yes, but also brilliant. He promoted people based on skill, not birth, and created a system of communication and law that helped trade and ideas flow across Eurasia. From China to Europe, his impact shaped the modern world. Love him or fear him, Genghis Khan changed history forever. Next up at number 8, what if I told you one of the most powerful leaders in history spent 27 years in prison and still came out with a smile? Meet Nelson Mandela, the man who turned forgiveness into a weapon stronger than hate. Born in 1918 in South Africa, Mandela fought against a brutal system called apartheid, where laws separated people by race. He stood up, spoke out, and got locked up for nearly 3 decades. But here's the twist. When he was finally freed, instead of seeking revenge, he chose peace. In 1994, Mandela became South Africa's first black president and helped unite a divided nation, not with bullets, but with hope. He's a global icon of courage, resilience, and compassion. From prisoner to president to legend. Now that's influence. Next up at number 7, imagine being 5'6" and still managing to shake all of Europe. Yep, meet Napoleon Bonaparte, the Corsican kid who rose from humble beginnings to literally crown himself Emperor of France. This guy didn't wait for permission. He said, if I want something, I take it. And take it he did. Most of Europe, actually. He won battles that seemed unwinnable, changed how armies moved, and wrote military strategy books just by existing. But he didn't just conquer, he reformed. Napoleon created the Napoleonic Code, a legal system so solid, parts of it are still used today. Schools, banking, roads, all improved under him. He basically rebooted France. Of course, things went south, or east. He marched into Russia with 600,000 men. Only about 100,000 came back. Yikes. He got exiled once, came back, then lost again at Waterloo. And that was it. But love him or hate him, Napoleon changed the game. A military genius, a reformer, a man whose shadow still looms over history. Up next at number 6. Ever heard of the guy who accidentally started a revolution with a hammer and some paper? Meet Martin Luther. No, not Martin Luther King. We're talking the OG from 1483, who flipped the religious world upside down. In 1517, Martin marches up to a church in Wittenberg, Germany, and nails 95 things he didn't like about the Catholic Church to the door. Basically, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't sell forgiveness like it's a Black Friday deal. The church was not amused. They told him to take it back. He said nope. And boom, the Protestant Reformation is born. A total game changer in history. No more one-size-fits-all religion. Now people could read the Bible for themselves because Martin translated it into German. He basically helped invent modern education and pushed for everyone to be able to read. Imagine not being allowed to read your own holy book. Yeah, he changed that. His ideas spread like wildfire, splitting the church, challenging kings, and sparking wars. But Luther, he just wanted truth and maybe some peace and quiet to write. So next time you hear Martin Luther, remember, this monk didn't just change religion, he changed the world with words, courage, and a hammer. Halfway there. At number 5, imagine you're living in a world where kings rule everything. No freedom of speech, no fair elections. Sounds rough, right? Well, meet George Washington, farmer turned soldier turned the very first president of the United States and one of the most influential leaders in history. Born in 1732 in Virginia, George was anything but a pampered prince. He grew up swinging an axe, surveying land, and dreaming big. By his early 20s, he was already mapping out frontier territory. Talk about an early adventure. In 1754, he led his first military expedition into the Wild West. Well, frontier America. He lost a battle, but earned respect for his guts and grit. Fast forward to 1775. The colonies wanted out from under British rule. Guess who they tapped to lead the Continental Army? Yup, our guy George. December 1776. It's freezing. Morale is low. Washington loads his troops onto boats, crosses the ice-choked Delaware River, and surprises the Hessian soldiers at Trenton. Boom, turns the tide of the Revolutionary War. After victory, Washington faced a huge decision. He could have crowned himself king. Instead, he stepped down twice. First from the battlefield, then from the presidency. He proved leaders aren't rulers, they're public servants. In his farewell address, he warned about political parties tearing us apart and foreign alliances dragging us into wars. Wise words that still echo today. From muddy camps to marble monuments, George Washington's courage, humility, and vision set the blueprint for leadership worldwide. So next time you vote, speak up or just dream big. Remember the man who built a nation from nothing but hope, determination, and a really cool wig. Next up at number 4, imagine being so powerful, your name becomes the word for emperor in multiple languages. That's Julius Caesar, Rome's ultimate power player, born in 100 BCE, assassinated in 44. But in just 56 years, he changed everything. He wasn't just a general. He was a rock star commander who conquered Gaul, modern-day France, wrote about it like a bestseller, and came home more popular than ever. But Rome? Yeah, they got nervous. The Senate told him, don't bring your army into Rome. So Caesar said, cool story, and crossed the Rubicon River anyway, sparking a civil war, one that he won. He was declared dictator for life. But here's the twist. He actually reformed stuff, gave land to soldiers, reorganized the calendar, and gave more people Roman citizenship. But not everyone loved him. On the Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BCE, he walked into a meeting and got stabbed 23 times by friends, even Brutus, yeah. Et tu, Brute was real, or at least poetic. But get this, Caesar didn't really die that day. His death lit the fuse for the Roman Empire. Augustus, his adopted son, took over, and boom, Rome became an empire, not a republic. Oh, and remember how I said his name became the word for emperor? Caesar turned into Kaiser in Germany, Tsar in Russia. Yeah, that's the kind of legacy we're talking about. Julius Caesar, dictator, genius, reformer, betrayed icon. He didn't just rule Rome, he rewrote history. And over 2,000 years later, we're still saying his name. Next up at number 3, how did a failed art student from Austria nearly take over the world? Yeah, we're talking about Adolf Hitler, one of the most infamous and terrifying figures in history. Born in 1889, Hitler dreamed of becoming a painter, but got rejected twice by an art school in Vienna. Ouch. Instead of sketching landscapes, he ended up sketching plans for global domination. After fighting in World War I, Hitler joined a small political group that later became the Nazi Party. His speeches, fiery, angry, and dangerous. By 1933, he was Germany's chancellor. A year later, he had turned democracy into dictatorship. What makes Hitler one of the most influential leaders ever? He didn't just lead, he brainwashed an entire nation using propaganda, fear, and nationalism. He inspired loyalty through manipulation. And he convinced millions to follow a vision that led to World War II and the Holocaust. Under his rule, over 60 million people died in World War II. He invaded countries, rewrote borders, and almost changed the face of the planet. His actions shaped modern politics, the United Nations, global laws, and even today's maps. In 1945, as Allied forces closed in, Hitler died by suicide in his bunker. His reign ended, but the world would never be the same. We still study him not to admire, but to understand how dangerous unchecked power can be. So yeah, from art school rejection to one of history's darkest legacies, Hitler's influence is massive and terrifying. A reminder, one person really can change the world, for better or worse. Know your history, learn from it. Coming up next at number 2, yep, we're talking about Abraham Lincoln. Born in a log cabin in 1809 and somehow ended up in the White House, leading a nation at war with itself. This man wasn't polished. He had no fancy schooling. He failed in business, lost multiple elections, but he never gave up. And thank goodness he didn't, because when the United States was splitting apart over slavery and secession, Lincoln stepped in, not with rage, but with reason, with words, and with an iron will. In 1863, he dropped the Emancipation Proclamation, which didn't instantly free every slave, but it redefined the Civil War as a fight for freedom. He turned the war from politics into principle. And who could forget the Gettysburg Address? Just 272 words, but it still hits harder than most speeches today. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Lincoln wasn't just talking about America. He was throwing down a challenge to the whole world. Even his look became legendary. That tall hat, he kept notes and letters in it. The beard, a little girl once wrote to him and said he'd look more presidential with one, so he grew it. Yes, really. But Lincoln wasn't just wise and witty. He was also tragically human. Just days after ending the Civil War, he was assassinated, shot in a theater while trying to relax. A nation mourned and the world watched. But his ideas didn't die. Freedom, unity, democracy. Today, statues of Lincoln stand not just in America, but all around the globe. Why? Because he wasn't just a U.S. president. He became a symbol of what it means to lead with honesty, empathy, and vision. So next time you see that face on a penny or a $5 bill, just remember, that's not just money. That's a reminder of a man who held a nation together with words, courage, and a whole lot of heart. At last, but not least, what if I told you one man, born over 2,000 years ago in a tiny town, without an army, money, or political power, changed the entire world? His name? Jesus of Nazareth. Born around 4 BCE, raised by a carpenter, never traveled more than 100 miles from home. And yet, time itself is split because of him, BC and AD. That's wild. Jesus didn't conquer cities. He healed the sick, hung out with outcasts, and preached one radical message: love your enemies, forgive everyone. The last will be first. No TikTok, no Twitter, just word of mouth, and crowds followed him everywhere. To the authorities, he was dangerous. To the poor, a hero. To the religious elite, a threat. But to his followers, he was the Messiah. He flipped tables, told stories with hidden meanings, and broke all the rules to help people. And for that, he was arrested, beaten, and crucified, a humiliating death reserved for criminals. Game over, right? Wrong. His followers said he rose from the dead, and whether you believe that or not, what happened after changed everything. From 12 scared disciples to billions of believers today. Hospitals, orphanages, civil rights, forgiveness, all inspired by him. Think about it. The Bible, best-selling book in history. Art, music, movies, shaped by his story. World leaders, movements, holidays, all touched by Jesus. Jesus never ruled a nation, but his teachings still rule hearts. Love, peace, and hope. Timeless ideas from a man with no throne, except maybe the one in people's minds. Whether you see him as the Son of God or a revolutionary teacher, Jesus Christ is hands down one of the most influential people to ever walk the earth. Now that's a legacy.